It was a warm spring night in Jackson, Mississippi. The year was 1970, and America was boiling with unrest. The Vietnam War raged overseas, while at home, racism and inequality continued to spark anger and pain in black communities. Only 10 days earlier, the nation had been shocked by the killings at Kent State University, where 4 white students protesting the war were gunned down by the National Guard. But in Jackson, Mississippi, another tragedy was about to unfold, one that would not echo as loudly in the headlines, but would leave deep scars in the hearts of those who lived through it. Tensions rise. On the evening of May 14th, students at Jackson State University, a historically black college, gathered along Lynch Street. This street, which cut straight through campus, had long been a site of tension between white motorists and black students. Many nights, drivers hurled insults, or worse, at the students walking there. That night, frustration turned into action. Bottles and rocks were thrown at passing cars, and soon a dump truck was set ablaze. The fire glowed in the night sky as crowds of young people gathered, some out of anger, many out of curiosity. Local police and state troopers, already on edge from recent protests around the country, were called in to restore order. But what followed was not order. It was chaos. The gunfire at Alexander Hall. Shortly before midnight, officers carrying rifles, shotguns, and pistols took positions facing Alexander Hall, a women's dormitory. Students inside the building peered from windows, watching nervously. Others stood outside, unsure of what would happen next. Then, suddenly, shots rang out. The police later claimed they heard gunfire from the crowd, but no evidence was ever found that a single student fired a weapon. What is certain is that the officers opened fire themselves, unleashing more than 150 rounds into the dark campus night. The gunfire at Alexander Hall. Shortly before midnight, officers carrying rifles, shotguns, and pistols took positions facing Alexander Hall, a women's dormitory. Students inside the building peered from windows, watching nervously. Others stood outside, unsure of what would happen next. Then, suddenly, shots rang out. The police later claimed they heard gunfire from the crowd, but no evidence was ever found that a single student fired a weapon. What is certain is that the officers opened fire themselves, unleashing more than 150 rounds into the dark campus night. The barrage lasted less than half a minute, but its impact was devastating. Bullets tore through the dormitory walls, leaving pockmarks that can still be seen today. Students screamed and scrambled for cover. Some dove to the ground, others hid in their rooms, praying the storm of bullets would end. Lives lost. When the smoke cleared, 2 young men lay dead. Philip Lafayette Gibbs, 21, a junior pre-law major, husband and father of an infant son, with another child on the way. James Earl Green, only 17, a local high school student, who had simply stopped to watch on his way home from work. 12 others were wounded. None had posed any threat that justified what happened. Aftermath and silence. The next morning, Jackson awoke to grief. Parents, students, and community members gathered in shock and anger. Yet, unlike Kent State, the killings at Jackson State did not dominate national news. There were no massive nationwide protests, no sustained outrage. To many, the reason was painfully clear: at Kent State, the victims were white. At Jackson State, they were black. President Nixon expressed sorrow, but no officers were ever charged. A government commission later called the shootings an unreasonable, unjustified overreaction. But for the families of Gibbs and Green, that acknowledgement brought no justice.